Headbangers Ball for the fans here at the WOW Arena. And Fury certainly lighting up the brand new WOW Arena. First time we've seen Sylvia Sanchez in singles action, and it's against Tormenta.
She's been wanting singles action for some time. It reminds me of Genesis, how she was with Exile and finally wanted to break loose on her own and become a singles dominant wrestler.
1 month later.
Well, Fury David and Sylvia Sanchez, both former members of groups. Then they went out in singles competition, but now coming together to form a team. It's an unusual pairing, David.
Well, yes, you might say that. But their solidarity is found in their desire to be champions. And they figured by teaming together, they might be able to go after the tag team championships of WOW.
We can't do anything right!
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Hello, good people, and thank you for tuning in for another edition and another review here on the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast with your host, Mr. Green. How are you? And thank you again for tuning in. And I wish I could tell you that it was a phenomenal episode that I tuned into and that I was so thrilled and ready to share this with you, but quite honestly, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it up front, this episode was a little bit bland for me. I mean, you know, getting around the matches in and of themselves. If you took the match just for the sake of the match, the matches were fine, but this just did not do anything for me as an episode on the whole. It just didn't. The best way that I could describe this is it was like it was a holding pattern of storyline. If you ever flew on a plane and they're like, hey, you know, we're not cleared to land right now, so you just circle around until you get the go ahead to actually approach the airport and land. This is what this episode was like. It's just in a holding pattern, circling around until it gets permission to actually show you something worthwhile. Everything else here is it just was. However, as we normally do on here, we're going to go through a couple of other items before we get into the full-on review of the show. And I will repeat, the matches in and of themselves, not bad. The 6-woman tag at the beginning, the debut, albeit a standard WOW debut of Ashley Blaze, the hodgepodge team of Fury and Sanchez, and then another number one contenders match. I mean, this is becoming a chore to sit through. Hopefully it will turn around, but it is getting there. It is getting there. It's real close. But let's try this before we go into that, because I'm sure it'll make me carry on and rant and rave like I tend to do at WOW sometimes. But before we go there, let's try our normal things, and that is the news, views, and updates. And as such, let's start with this. Roxanne Perez marks 200 days as the NXT Women's Champion. Congratulations, Miss Perez. The Prodigy has cleared her second reign over 200 days. As far as it has been reported, there are only 2 other women in the history of NXT that have held a championship for that length of time, that being Shayna Baszler, or over that length of time. Shayna Baszler and Charlotte Flair being the other 2. So, congratulations to them. She is just underneath who is it? Asuka, I think she's in that also. And Mandy Rose. Who Mandy, surprisingly had a long period of time, like over a year. Asuka, they have. Did she have it twice? I don't remember. I think it was just once with her. I know Charlotte had it twice. Perez is on her second run, so she's a little over 300 or over 200 days beyond her second reign. So again, congratulations. She has really kind of kept this thing going, so good on her. We have a departure out of the WWE, not a wrestler, but a departure of significance all the same. Samantha Irvin has announced that she is finished up with WWE. Now, what she is going to do going forward, we don't know. The assumption here right now is that she will migrate over to AEW. Now, I don't particularly want to see that. She was a great ring announcer for WWE because she got emotional and she was into it. I don't know if AEW does anything that is going to garner that kind of emotion out of her. She left a long message on her social media, and I'm not going to go and read the entire thing. I'm just going to give you the first page. She writes, WWE Universe, my time has come to an end as your Monday Night Raw ring announcer. I love you all tremendously, and this does not mark the end of my art. I have a lifetime more to share. Thank you to every WWE fan who accepted me. To the Women's Locker Room, you are the most incredible group of people on the face of this earth. I am beyond proud to be your colleague and friend. To the crew and cameramen, I can't thank you enough for the encouragement, the laughs, you created such a wonderful, positive environment for me, or atmosphere. I don't know why I got environment. Atmosphere for me. Love you all. So, who knows where we will see her pop up next? It's possible that she might not even be in a wrestling environment beyond here. But again, we wish her well as she moves forward and whatever it is that she may land in doing. And as a connecting piece to that, Lillian Garcia has returned to the WWE to pick up the slack. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing for her, but she certainly is the template that most women ring announcers that have gone to the WWE have followed. Once she got there, she kind of set the standard. And she has returned to a full-time ring announcer position, picking up again for Samantha Irvin. What is this? This will be her third time in the company. So welcome back, Lillian Garcia. And I'm pretty sure she will be able to do this and probably belt out some songs at some point in time because we know that she is a singer. So, we can certainly expect the national anthem at some point in time, I would imagine. Natalya shared details on eye surgery, which I'm pretty sure none of us knew about. She said that she was legally blind in one eye. She opened up about her wrestling career, essentially wrestling one-eyed. Not an impossible feat, as we know. Well, certainly as I do. We have a one-eyed wrestler going on right now. I think she's recovering at this point, but the Woad, who legitimately only has one eye, she had the other one surgically removed. But she being Natalya was talking, on the Takedown on Sports Illustrated. She talked about being legally blind in one eye. She said, I don't think even really anybody in WWE knew about it because I kept it pretty secretive. I was born with astigmatism. I was legally blind in my left eye. Though they didn't have the technology to fix it, I didn't qualify for LASIK because of how my eye was shaped. At that time, the procedure they had for a lens implant, because the shape of my eye, I didn't qualify for. She continues on. I had a little time off this summer, and in between my contract re-signing, I was like, if I had this time off, I'm going to ask at the WWE if I can get this fixed. And I found an eye doctor, Newsom Eye in Tampa. They had the technology that they didn't have before. So, very good for her. Apparently now she has a implant in her, her left eye or whatever eye that's bothering her. So she should be able to see a little bit clearer now that the rain is gone. Well, let me not start that. Contract signings took place, although it was a almost like a combination contract signing with Slamovich, Grace, Nemeth, and Henry did a contract signing. So the idea here, speaking specifically about Masha Slamovich, and if you didn't see the sit down that she and Grace had leading into the contract signing and by proxy into Bound for Glory, they had to sit down and they addressed their relationship of sorts. Grace went on to talk about how she, every time I had an open challenge, I was hoping that I would hear your music, and every time that it didn't happen, she was somewhat a little bit disappointed. But now they are going into this next match. They already wrestled once at a Bound for Glory, and at that Bound for Glory, Jordynne Grace ended Slamovich's 9-month undefeated streak. Now it is the return. Logic might tell us, or storyline logic might tell us, that this is the redemption of Masha Slamovich. Considering that Grace has been on top of the, proverbial knockouts mountain, how long has it been? Oh my gosh. Has it been almost, I think it's been a year now. I can't, did she win that Bound for Glory? I cannot remember. God. Anyhow, I know that she won the championship off of Naomi, and she's held it since then. Naomi's been back in WWE since the beginning of the year, so she's had it at least a good 10 months. That's at least. So that is something to look forward to. If you haven't seen the sit down, either the conversation between the two of them in the back room or the contract signing, that might be something that interests you if you are looking for a little build up for the pay-per-view. I will probably watch it once it is cleared on, I was about to say Impact Plus, on TNA Plus, since there's no longer an Impact Plus. For those of you who do not use that particular streaming service, yes, you can get all of those things that they do, but there is a little bit of it's not an embargo, but there's a little bit of a window between the time that you can get it on pay-per-view opposed to it just being there on the service. So, whereas, yes, I will be able to watch Bound for Glory unless I order it that day. I'm going to have to wait like 2 weeks. I think that's generally the average. I still think that is especially in the last year, I think that's been worth the money. There's been times several years back when I was like, this is not worth it, and I canceled it. I stayed off of their streaming service for years, but then they started getting back cooking again, and it made me like, you know what, I think I want to watch this now, and I have enjoyed it since that time. So we will see where exactly Bound for Glory leaves us when I get the opportunity to watch Bound for Glory. In unfortunate news, Britt Baker and Adam Cole are no longer a couple. Now, for all you single guys out there, yay for you, because now you can go hitting on Britt Baker on social media, hoping that she can return, some messages and meet you somewhere. I don't know. But Adam Cole specifically confirmed the rumors of the split up. He did mention, or I should say, he did speak on it, stating, "We are no longer a couple, but when I say we both still love each other and are still friends and are still so supportive of each other, that could not be more true. I think the world of Britt. I want her to be happy and successful as humanly possible, and I know she feels the exact same way about me. We did decide to go our separate ways, but that does not mean that she will not be an incredibly important part of my life. Britt is absolutely one of my best friends. She's someone that I love dearly and will always love dearly, and there's no ill will between me and her whatsoever." So, sorry to hear that, but the fact that they are able to part ways on good terms, apparently, is a big plus and very mature of both of them, because it ain't always easy to do that. I'm speaking out of experience. It ain't always easy to do that. It's not easy to just be like, you know what, we're out and I love you and we can move on. Sometimes there's some animosity, sometimes there's some bad blood, but in this case, that does not seem to be the scenario, so good on them. Allie Katch, who has been on the Indies, formerly known as Allie Cat, has, I guess, made it clear that she would like to be, or she's open to being, a TNA knockout. It is listed that I was going to say she's known for intergender wrestling, but let's be honest. On the independents, almost every woman is known for intergender wrestling at a certain point. You know, I love the indies, but the lack of women to go around in some cases creates that problem to begin with. I know because I've been in some of those promotions, some of those locker rooms where it's just like, there's the one woman there. And if she wants to work, then she's going to have to work another guy. So, but in any case, they list her as having, worked across the indies and Wrestling Open and GCW, Beyond Wrestling. She is quoted as saying this: "I would love to be with TNA full time. I love the locker room. I love how they treat everybody. I think the women's division is, like always, top tier. Even me, I wasn't signed there. I was just coming in to do the one-off matches, but they treated me like I was part of them, and I was like, I love this. This is great." I don't know if she would have room on that roster right now. It's not necessarily a measurement of talent. Sometimes I look at who do you already have on the roster and where would this next person fit if you were to hire her. And I don't know where exactly she would fit at this particular point. She probably could get some, good matches out of people, or they can get some good matches out of her. She does have a bit of a name on the independents that might extend itself to TNA wrestling. And if she gets signed, she made it very public. If she gets signed, then, hey, bravo. But I don't know what it is that she would be able to offer them right now beyond another body to apply to the women's division. Maybe she can, get hooked up into a tag team, or maybe she can start up with Ash by Elegance, or something along those lines. Who knows? But the idea that she would go to TNA wrestling or would like to go to TNA wrestling is not that big of a shocker to me. It has always stuck with me after I had an interview with a young lady named Mistress Belmont. I think she's changed her name since. I think she now goes by the Widow Belmont if she hasn't changed it again. But at the time, she was Mistress Belmont. And we talked about that because she did pretty much the same thing that Allie Katch is doing now, where she did a one-off for the company rather than be signed by the company. And when we had that conversation, we talked about her she didn't really have time in TNA wrestling, but her matches in TNA wrestling. One of the questions I asked her is like, what did you think about the company? How did they treat you? And, what do they mean in the overall scope of wrestling? And her response was one I just didn't forget because I hadn't thought about it to that point until she said it. She basically said that when TNA created their Knockouts division, it gave me hope. It gave me hope that ladies like me would be able to work at a major, wrestling promotion. Because she didn't see or foresee herself as being able to get to WWE. It's like, I'm not the look that they want. I don't have the gimmick that they want. It's, unless they just did a massive overhaul, and probably not something that they're looking for. But TNA at that time, opposed to WWE's Divas division, the Knockouts division was, even though they had the sports entertainment type name, they were featured more on the athleticism rather than the showcase of we can be funny and sexy and all that stuff. They could do that too in TNA, but it wasn't their focal point. So, all of that to say is I get it, and it makes perfect sense to me, and it sounds like it would be a good place for her to go if she's able to do it. We'll be pulling for you, Alley Catch. And finally, I guess AEW has dug Abilene back up out of the grave, because I think she only pops up like once in a year. And of course, where would she pop, or when would she do it? Right around Halloween. And what did she do? She popped up enough to ruin Athena's celebration. So she is approaching 700 days, she being Athena. And that celebration was spoiled by the living dead girl, Abaddon. I know I've said a couple of times that there are some talented people that exist on Ring of Honor, but I am not paying for this. I'm sorry, but Tony Khan has really worn me out with his booking. He is only second to WoW as far as being worn out to booking, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, at this point, he's worn me out with his booking. And so I'm not going to waste my time or money to look at Ring of Honor behind a paywall just so I can keep up with this. Now, when the matches get posted and everything, then I will take a look at it. But beyond that, no, it can just wander off somewhere. And that is all the news, views, and updates that I have at this particular moment. So, you know what we got to do. It's time to take a brief break for the YouTube to do their thing and toss in an ad. But when we come back, we will go right into the review of WoW's latest episode and why I thought it was so bland. We'll be back. Alrighty, folks, we are back. Let's get into it, shall we? I will try to keep my drinking of the Celsius down to a minimum. But, when I do hours and hours and hours of these things, it's a good thing to have some caffeine running through my veins. Anyhow, this is the review of WoW episode 306, which is season 3, episode 6, title Second Chances. The chronological number for me is 110. Air date, October 19th. I guess we have to get into it. All right, so the show opens with a voiceover from Nigel. And it begins with the defense of the WoW Vanity Championships. The Fierce Sisters and Tiki Charmorro have been thrown together to challenge Top Tier, this magnificent team that has beaten all of these top acts or groups, teams or factions, whatever you want to call them. Despite the fact that they lost, I mean, I still cannot get over that. They lost to Ariel Sky and any person that they slammed up with her 3 times in a row, and they're like, all right, well, you deserve belts. Logic, my friends, logic. Anyhow, this is another match that's pretty much out of nowhere. Doesn't mean anything. And like I said, I will continue to refer to them as the vanity belts until such a time that it's shown me that it is not. And I doubt that that's ever going to happen. These are championships that are only there because they were requested. And at the end of the match, it pretty much said that. But let's get to some of the good. Because as stated before, the matches in and of themselves are not bad. And I don't want to take anything away from that. They most of them are actually pretty fun to watch. I will say, I gave Roxy a hard time on the last match, the singles match that she had. This was a better outing for her. Perhaps it was a case of her and Classmaster getting the signals crossed or not meshing. I don't know. But in this case, she seemed to do much better. And she's got a good look. You know, she's got good stature. Tiki won me over time. So, I do have to say that. And also, just as a side note, Tiki came in with a knee brace on. And it felt like David McLean had to make sure that people knew that injury did not take place in a WoW ring. It's like rugby. She got this thing from rugby. I was like, oh, okay, well, fine. We understand. She got it from rugby. Okay, settle down with it. So they come out and they are getting the title match against Top Tier. Now, these are one of the things that kind of gets me with WoW in this level of consistency. Like, what ranking system does Top Tier even have to deal with? It is every reason that I dislike trios titles. When there's not a trios division, there's no division for this. It is just teams thrown together so they can have a match. And they're not even like the singular WoW championship where somebody's got to go through some sort of number one contendership. They just like, all right, well, we're defending the titles. Same thing with the tag team titles. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, all right, yeah, we're just defending the titles. Now, Top Tier as a group, they look great. They do. I liked the look last season. I like this one better. You know, the way it was mostly white with gold and black trim. I like the black outfits a little better with the gold and white trim more than I did the last ones. Not that the last ones were bad. Getting back to the babyface side, like I said, I started to like Tiki, and I really wish, and I'm sidebarring right now, I really wish they had done something with her. They had a perfect opportunity to do something with her. Now, granted, I understand that all of this is taped and it's in the can, and there's not really much they can do once they decide to go there. But, you know, when you have some changes, you may need to make some alterations on the path. I realized that Tiki Charmorro and Penelope Pink was not the original match scheduled, according to what I've been told. But the match happened. You know, regardless of the reasons, that match happened. And not only did Tiki win the match against a former WoW champion, she beat Pink twice. Never to be spoken of again. Never to be mentioned. Never for her to say that, you know, I deserve a shot too, or Pink wanted to get revenge. Nothing. It just happened and it disappeared. That was a perfect opportunity to do something with her. And Pink could have helped elevate her. I'm sure that she could have helped elevate her. And I pitched it. I know they're not going to listen to my pitch, but it wasn't a difficult idea to come up with. You had Tiki Charmorro, who had been essentially the resident underdog of WoW, who defeated the woman that walks around there saying, I am the best thing that's ever happened to this company. The best damn thing that WoW's ever seen. You know, however she phrases it. And if you have somebody of that level of ego lose twice to somebody who's looked at as beneath, an underdog, and, you know, tiny or whatever the case would be, you would think that her ego would demand satisfaction. I got to get even. Even if she just chose to ignore it, Tiki should have came out and did something like, wow, why are you getting the number one contendership match when you couldn't even beat me? Something. It was a layup. It was delivered on a silver platter. Yet, nothing. So anyhow, don't worry, Tiki. I still love you. Even though Wild treats you like crap. So, match starts out, you know, it is I guess a normal top tier match. I don't think the end of this was ever in doubt. That top tier doesn't exist in any sort of angle or plot or storyline or nothing. It's just one random match after another. And this was another one of those random matches. The only perk that this match had, as far as the guys in the room was concerned, is that they got to see Glory Glitter, and then somebody found and fell in love with Roxy. Those are probably about the two shining points as far as the room was concerned. But even when I look at this, as nice as it was, there's nothing behind this match. There's absolutely nothing behind this match. Nice match, but it's hard to get invested in it when there's no challengers on the horizon for this team or this title. So I can't be built for it. I can't be built into wanting to see them lose. More so than that, I could care less about trios titles. Even less than that about WoW's trios titles. Tiki does well with glitter to start off the match. Roxy does well when she comes in. She had one spot in the match that I thought that she flubbed a bit, but she got a good sinking arm drag in on Campanelli. She showed some good shoulder blocks. She showed some good poise. There was no massive miscues like it was in the match with her and the Classmaster. But it whatever gains that the Fierce Sisters got when they entered into WoW, it feels like that just went away. Like they took I hate to keep bringing up all these things that WoW just seems to ignore or not address, or it just happened and it goes away. But I can't help it. It's like the Fierce Sisters get jumped by 5 different people at the end of the last match that they had as a tag team, and it was never, ever, ever even brought up by them or we need revenge or nothing. It just happened and it disappeared and it went away. And now it just feels like, I might be wrong, it just feels like Foxy and is back to being where she was. So anyhow, when Foxy does get in, she has a good showing, and then she has a moment there. I can't even say that she kind of hurt herself because Campanelli hoists her up when she tries to charge her in the corner. And Foxy goes over and hits, theoretically, her head on the post. Now, It's a good spot, but I also think that spot probably should have been the end. I mean, she leaped over and was hoisted up head first into a steel post. She shouldn't even be walking around at that point. That should have ended that. But they didn't, they had to get their triple team stuff in, and that's what they did. They dragged over to the corner and started working over. So the heat here was largely got on Foxy until Foxy was able to make her escape and get over to Tiki Charmorro. Tiki, she does fine. I don't know why they did the little headbutt spot there, I guess playing into the old all Tongans and Polynesians and black people, and everybody else got heads like cement. Because there was a point in a match where with a Candy Crush dropped Tiki's head across her knee. Tiki gets back up and just screams at her, but that did nothing because Crush just clotheslined her down. So I don't know what that particular spot was for. Didn't really help anything. Didn't further anything. Didn't change the tie. Didn't do much. So they keep work. Well, not they, but Crush keeps working over Tiki. Drops a big elbow on her, steps over, and all that good stuff. Until she's able to get Campanelli in the ring. Campanelli goes in and works on the bad leg, works on the knee brace, or at least the leg with the knee brace. Campanelli is in control of this match up until there's a little, I can't say mistake, because she tries to charge into Tiki. Tiki stops what Campanelli is doing, and Campanelli tries to come back again, but this time Tiki stops her again and gives her a headbutt. Knocks her down. Over the last couple of weeks, I have been praising Wild for having creative ways to have their hot tags, and this wasn't one of them. This was the double, let's slowly crawl to our corner and try our best to tag at the same time so the other two people can charge in. That was what this was. And they did the double tag, which, okay, I guess it's fine because it's not overdone. It was a bad thing in the wrestling industry as a whole, not just for WoW, but the wrestling industry as a whole, when every tag match had to have that. But at least they have gone, just give credit where it's due, they at least have gone out of their way, seemingly, to have more creative ways to get the hot tag rather than doing that. So unless they're going to do it a bunch of more times, I'm not going to complain about it. So Crush comes in, Roxy comes in. Crush is taken down by a big shoulder block by Roxy. And this is probably the only other time where it really becomes evident of some timing issues. So Roxy nails a shoulder block on Crush. Glitter comes in and she nails a shoulder block on her. Then Roxy decides that she wants to talk to the people on the floor and in the crowd and the audience, which makes both Glitter and Crush visibly have to stand around and look stupid for like a second or two until Roxy decides to get back into the game. Roxy does a double elbow. Wish they didn't have that particular camera angle when they did it because it looked good on Glitter. Not so much on Crush. Looked like she kind of grazed her elbow, grazed Crush's shoulder, if nothing else. Roxy does a nice kip up. Like I said, this looked far better. Maybe she just works better in a team environment rather than a singles environment. I don't know. But she looked a lot better here than she did previously. So it still didn't necessarily work in a tag team environment in certain instances. Roxy goes for the cover. Glitter stops it and stands there for Roxy to toss her out. Then Foxy asks for a tag. And as she's doing that and her back's turned, she's like surprised that Candy Crush would dare, go off and tag her partner. Like, really? You're shocked about that? Or at least that's the expression on her face. So Foxy comes off the top rope. She nails Campanelli. Campanelli is almost covered, but she's able to kick out of the top rope high cross body. And she cuts Foxy off. Foxy tries to come back in, and without doing any sort of cheating or whatnot, she just gives her a kick in the guts and picks her up for airplane spin. Now, it's a relatively slow airplane spin, so, I really wish that she was able to muster up some speed for that, just to make it really look good. But it did the job. It set her up. As the airplane spin brings her down, she comes down dizzy. The tag is made during the spin. Crush gets up on the second rope and she nails Foxy with a Superwoman punch. I forget what she calls her version of it. Was a KO Crusher. That's what it was. And Foxy is knocked out cold, and then that's it. And the team of Top Tier win the match. Now, a couple of things within the course of this. One, I just have to point that Dave McClain at some point in here says, Foxy and Roxy, it's hard to get them apart. I can tell them apart, but because their names are so similar, I was like, well, if they're so similar and it bothers you, why'd you name them that? Because I'm sure they ain't just turn around and name themselves. And two, I don't know if they need to get a different finish. Not the move, but I'm just saying a different finish for Top Tier. Because when they do this, it's like one member of Top Tier has to stop two other people on the outside, and somehow they always manage to do it. Like Glitter runs across the ring and nails, holds Roxy from getting in. She's holding her ankle. Somehow, or for some reason, Charmorro is either held up or distracted or whatever the case would be, and she's unavailable to get in there and stop this. Every time they've had somebody have to run across the ring and stop the other competitors from saving their partners, it's like one person is all it needs. And I don't know what that's about. So Top Tier, surprise, surprise, win the match. I don't think there's any shocker there. At the end of the match, not Candy, I don't know why I keep thinking Candy Crush. Campanelli cuts a promo, which basically reinforces everything that I said. The belts are made for them. And they just keep mixing, matching teams to challenge them. That is pretty much what her promo said. That is everything that I said preceding this promo. That they are vanity belts. They're only there because they asked for them. And the only challenges to this, because since there's no actual division, are just people that get thrown together to go up against them. This is why I have no desire to see this match or these titles. And by proxy, I don't care about Top Tier. They're a good-looking team. Don't get me wrong. And I'm glad they get the chance to have some mic time and that they present themselves as a grade A heel team. But where's this going? Where is this going? That's the only thing I can say. It was a nice promo too. Campanelli does, she is good on the mic. Don't know if they wrote it down for her. Don't know if she had bullet points, but where is this going? It's just another match. And there's no one there that they have any sort of issue with, whether it's a team or a singular person. What is happening with them? So, next segment. Let's just move on. The Mother Truckers have a segment, and god damn, I hated this. As simple as the segment was, I just did not like it. So, they're back at Lana Starr's house. And this segment is basically they're showing Holly Swag beginning to sympathize with Lana and the Fabulous Four and their lifestyle as Big Rig Betty sweeps up some random hair that's on the kitchen floor. Why is this on the kitchen floor? Who does that? I have a daughter that does hair. Cosmetology. That's what she went to school for. Back in college now, but she is working. I mean, nobody's going to find off in Augusta doing this right now. No one does that unless they are doing their hair in the kitchen. And even when they do, the few times that I've seen, most people will clean that up, not just leave it laying around, or that just is one thing. And even if we were going to go off the premise that this nice mansion, they were perfectly fine just leaving crap on the floor, why didn't she just lean over and pick it up? It's not like you needed a broom for that. This immediately made me think about the last segment that they had. Like, how difficult is it to create a mess for them to have to clean so it looks like they're legitimately cleaning something? It could have just been as easy as, hey guys, we're going to have lunch today before the shoot. Make sure you leave your plates and cups and forks and everything on the table so that we have a scene for them to clean it up. Bring the trash from the arena and so we can dump it in one of these places so she has to sweep it or something. How hard is that? Anyhow, so we see Big Rig in her wrestling attire sweeping in the kitchen. Like I said, she could have just literally leaned down and picked it up because you know what happened? That's exactly what Holly Swag did. She walked in there and picked it up. And then she starts talking about they let me have leftover champagne and clothes that they didn't wear. I mean, Swag comes off like a little street urchin who has never seen or had anything nice a day in her life. And I want to be clear because I try to do this every time I talk about it. I am talking about the persona of Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag. I am not talking about Amazing Maria and Holly Hood. Those two I like. Big Rig Betty and Holly Swag, not so much. And when you go and you find any match or promo that Holly Hood and Amazing Maria did outside of Wild, okay, yeah, there's a country accent there, but it is not nearly as pronounced as what they do on that show. It's like they have to go out of their way to, youngin', you go in there and give me that dust. I was like, come on, man. Does everybody from Kentucky have to be like that? So Swag picks it up and she's basically ready to put this in her own hair. Like, you think I could put some pink in it and this, that, and the other? And her mom was complaining like, I'm in here doing all this cleaning and you up there telling jokes and playing pranks and this, that, and the other. Where was the same question applies? Where was this going? It didn't forward anything. It's a holding pattern. It's just another segment placed in here to remind you, I guess, that this is going on. Which I still don't really understand why this is so amazing for her. Her being Holly Swag. You can get extensions at a store. It doesn't require you being rich. I know that. Nothing that they put in front of her or flaunted in front of her requires you being rich. Nothing. I'm sorry. None of that. You could have legitimately, and I thought about it. It's like, what would I have done if I was in it? And I went through some of it last time. And I said, I would have probably got something that would be a little bit more dynamic visually to put on camera. And then I thought to myself, okay, what if it's a case of they're trying to hold their budget? What if that is the issue here? Could you get around that? And I said, yes. Yes, I could. You can go on Amazon right now and purchase costume jewelry. And not just cheap stuff that looks like plastic. I mean, you buy costume jewelry that looks legitimate, or at least it looked legitimate enough on camera. And if you're going to tell me that WoW is incapable of spending between $100 and $200, then there is a problem there. They're in LA, for Christ's sake. You could just go down, probably go to a store and get some right there in the city. And if you can't, back to square one. You could order this offline. If you're going to have her be so infatuated and so head over heels with the lifestyle and so wrapped up in having these things that you allegedly can't get, then do something to illustrate that. I know they're trying their best with the material that they got, because I heard Holly Swag in this segment try to explain it. This is better than the stuff that we have. This is nicer than the truck stop. Like, okay, are you telling me that that's the only place that you eat? Is that a truck stop? That's absurd. Why couldn't it just been, hey, we're about to go to the Four Seasons or something, and I will, bring us something back, or because it's not necessarily always about the food; it's the ambiance of those places that you go to. There should have been an entirely different segment written for all of this, all of it, because all of this is terrible. It is all terrible. And the more it unfolds, the more I look at it, I was like, this is just awful writing. And Zentara, I know that you said you'd be mad for me, and I appreciate that. And you feel like this is the worst angle that they've had. It's a strong second. They still haven't overcome Ariel Sky's stupid angle yet. Not in my opinion. But yeah, it's just awful. What grown person acts like this? And it just reinforced all the things I felt when this whole thing began. This is written for 5-year-olds. And that's it. Because I can't imagine any adult getting wrapped up in, oh man, this hair extension's on the floor. Let me pick them up so I can keep it. Unless you were a bum and you didn't have a house or you didn't have any belongings at all. In this universe where Holly Swag and Big Rig Betty are supposed to have a trucking company. Let me repeat that. These two characters are supposed to have a trucking company. One of which drives a big rig, hence the name. The other one, towing service. Both of those jobs pay reasonably, especially the driving the big rigs, because you need a CDL to do them. And if you're doing anything that's taking you out of state, they are going to pay. And I forget what the base salary was. I looked it up once. Somewhere like $92,000 a year or something like that. Like, that's average. You telling me that this woman couldn't pay for anything? And they're professional wrestlers. Why are they broke? Theoretically, they got 2 different jobs. Whoever writes this, take a class. Because there ain't no nice way to say it. This is not good. And the worst part of this is that you have no governor. I'm talking right now to the person that writes this up. You have no governor. That is the problem. When you are in a situation where no one can be in that room to say no. Every writer's room needs that. Every writer's room needs that person to say, why are we doing that? Or at least ask, what is this for? And what's the payoff? What is this for? How does this make sense? But since you're at the top of the list and you don't have to listen. And I'm pretty sure you've convinced yourself that everything that you write is gold. This is the result. Crap. And I defy somebody to tell me that these angles and storylines and plots and whatnot that they shoot in here make sense when you apply logic to it. But WoW is a logicless universe. So there you have it. Next segment, they promo for Ashley Blaze showing up. So you know where this is going to go. Segment after that is the match itself. So let's start with Ashley Blaze making her debut. I wrote on my notes, I fully expect her to lose. And I did, and she did. No surprise there. The Classmaster. Had so much potential. Now, beyond the dumb ass name, has and had, I'm going to say past tense, had potential. When I look at a Classmaster, I think about Megan Bain. The reason I think about Megan Bain, who's a wrestler on the Indies, the Megasis, I think I'm pronouncing that right, is they are somewhat of similar build and presented somewhat similarly. Tall, Amazonian-like height, powerful, both good looking, and in most cases will tower above their opponents. The difference here is that the Classmaster is presented as an idiot. Just look at the opening video. It's like, why are you making these childish faces and reading this picture book? And it's a picture book. If you have the time or the inclination, just go on to their YouTube channel and pull up Classmaster versus Ashley Blaze. Pause it at a second in, I think. Let me see. Pause it about 2 seconds in. Because she's facing away from the camera with the book open. Which basically shows this thing just to be some picture book for like real estate or scenery or whatever the hell it is. And then she's got the looks on her face and the read a book and all that. She always looks silly. And that cap and gown does not make it any better. Never mind the fact that her entire gimmick in WoW, because she ain't the smart one. So we're not playing off of the fact that she's some sort of genius. Her entire gimmick by the commentators is built around it. It's the 6'2" Classmaster. I have said it a number of times. If that is going to be the selling point of the Classmaster, then you do not need to have a manager who is of equal height. Samantha Smart's in those heels is 6'2". She got to be 6 feet on her own, at least 5'10". And then she comes out with these high-ass heels on. You negate the idea that she's a giant in your universe if your manager is going to be staring eye to eye with her. This is those things that I'm talking about. Why would you do that? Other than the fact, I mean, I know why. That's a rhetorical question. But beyond the fact that they have a gimmick that would lend itself to be naturally aligned with each other, for what reason would you do this? She needed a smaller manager to accentuate the height. But that didn't happen. So we have to move on. But yeah, true enough, when the bell rings, she turns off the silliness to some degree. But she's always silly before the lockup, and silly afterwards. And then we introduce Ashley Blaze. Ashley looks good too. Ashley Blaze is also reported as being they don't bring it up on the show, but she's also reported as being a former WWE, I'm hesitant to say star. I mean, I don't want to shortchange her, but I don't know if she had any real high-profile matches on that product. I think she was largely on like the main event and the NXT Level Up show and stuff like that. Not really on the main cusp of what WWE had. But in any case, does she look good? Coming out and in the ring and all that stuff. Yes, she does. She looked very good. I didn't necessarily know how to take her as she came out. She almost presented an air of arrogance to her. Almost. Fortunately, it wasn't overdone, so no one got the impression that you're supposed to boo her, even though there is an air of arrogance to her presentation. So in a standard wrestling environment, it would be very easy to kind of slip into that. And we got Blaze, who's making her debut, who didn't say a word. Not last week, not before this match, not after this match, or anything else. And I'm going to stop just so I can make mention of WOW and their debut practices. And then we'll get into the match itself. For whatever reasons, and I don't disagree that, that if you come in, you have to win. I'm not going to sit and say that. Now, that's all going to depend on what it is that you're trying to get out of the persons that you have. But even here, I have said that it is not a necessity that everybody that debuts win the match. It is not. However, WOW lends itself to make, or at least present people as, we had this great new signing, or we had this great new, in their words, superhero, and next week they position them as a reason for you to tune in. The week before this episode, next week, fans, Ashley Blaze debuts, right? But what do you get from that? Like I just said, she didn't say a word, didn't tell you why she's there, why WOW has become her home, I guess. Didn't say anything afterwards. Like, hey, I fell short, but don't worry about me. I'm going to come back. Nothing. It just, every debut is almost met with the same thing. Is met with loss. And it becomes very difficult for people who watch the show to use that as a means or a reason for me to tune in for the next week. Like, why would I care? Especially once you've gotten the idea that you winning or losing here means nothing. Well, I shouldn't say winning or losing, but you debuting here means nothing. You're going to get beat. Now, I have no idea what they plan on doing to Ashley Blaze, but this, in my eyes, represents a larger problem. I used to say, hey, it'll be nice to get somebody to get some promos in every once in a while after a match or whatever the case would be, so you can kind of afford whatever angle they're in, or, you know, relate the personality or whatever the case may be. But we'll just use this case, for instance. What is it that you're trying to get from this young lady? What is it that you're trying to get out of Ashley Blaze? I mean, for once, she doesn't look like a cartoon character. She has a name that you could actually put on the marquee. You could see it with the wild champion Ashley Blaze. You could see that. You could hear it. But I have no idea what they're planning on doing and why they would just bring it. It's like they have to have people come in and lose for like 2 or 3 months before they decide to do anything with them. And I feel like this is another case of that. It's like, well, we got to have her get beaten up for the next half of the year, and then we might have an idea what to do. This doesn't help drive me to want to watch anything. I can't speak for the rest of the world. But it doesn't make me like when you advertise next week is going to be the debut of so-and-so. I have immediately just learned to tune that out because it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. The same tone or narrative that's been the course of this show applies here. Match is fine, nothing behind it. They could have gotten some behind it. I would have preferred that if, hey, look, at the end you have Ashley say something rather than Smart. But they didn't do that. So we have the match starts with Blaze extending her hand to shake the hand of the Classmaster. And, of course, she does the dumb stuff that she always does, like read a book. What is that supposed to even be? Is that supposed to be some catchphrase? No one's ever going to say that, just like that whole honk honk thing, which I'm glad they have stopped. WoW has some of the worst catchphrases I've ever heard. And maybe Sanity reared his ugly head and somebody decided, you know what, this honk honk sounds stupid. Let's not do that anymore. So hopefully Sanity will rear his head again and she'll stop coming in there telling people to read a book, because you're telling somebody to read a book who basically says, no, I'm not going to read. I was like, what? And that's pretty much what Ashley did. She just like smacked her hands away when she says read a book. Like, nah, no thanks. It's like, well, okay, I'm not sure if that's what a babyface would do. You're not insulting the books. It's just dumb. It's dumb. And Ashley's like, nah, I don't think so. So anyhow, that aside, the match seemed fine. Of course, Classmaster has a point at her head because she's a genius, you see. Tosses Blaze around until Blaze, outmaneuvers her and catches her in the corner and punches and chops, tries to get her in snap mare, unable to get her down. And then within 30 seconds of the match, knocks her off her feet. Which, of course, they play up. She's trying to chop down the big redwood. I was like, well, they didn't take much for her to do it. So anyhow, Classmaster delivers a spectacular short arm clothesline to Blaze as a counter. Like I said, look, I'm not going to take away from the talent that either one of these ladies has. And Blaze looked fine. Classmaster looked fine. I just don't like her gimmick. I don't like the name. I don't like how she presents it. Her being the Classmaster is just all around stupidity. And even the presentation of her with the manager, again, stupidity. So the Classmaster takes control and she starts, wearing away at her. She gets her in her scholar collar. And, I didn't care for her using the submission hold, but at least she's consistent with it. That much I can give her. At least there is some level of consistency to where she is trying to get the move over. And I guess he could add to Zayn saying, hey, look, giving it a name, calling it Scholar Collar or whatever. So Blaze is able to escape the Scholar Collar. She's able to get a roll-up. She's able to get another roll-up following that, even though I'm not sure that Classmaster's shoulders on the mat. Classmaster comes back with a nice kick to the chest of Blaze. And she's pretty much doing her thing. She's being the dominant force, and she delivers a nice leg drop. You know, I like that she does that. Gave her a nice knee lift. Does the old I don't know if it's kind of like the reverse of Big Show's final cut. And after she did that, she did the running leg drop deal. Again, nice. You can play up her being that she's, you know, quote, larger and stronger than most of them. You can play up the fact that those simple moves have more impact than what the average wrestler in WoW would do. So in any case, let's just get to what the finish was here. And I do want to say before I get there that Blaze and her dodging Classmaster was nice also. Classmaster shoots her into the turnbuckle on one side. Blaze is able to get out of that. She's able to slide underneath what would have been a big boot. It was a nice evasive move. And without wasting any time, Classmaster was able to turn back around, and she turns around into punches and chops. That's when they talked about, well, she's trying to chop down the redwood, and she did it. Well, which I don't know why that would be some sort of shock or surprise. Like I said, she got it off her feet in like the first 30 seconds. So, Blaze does a nice little, I could imagine that it would actually hurt, but she does a nice little step up, double knee drop on the back of the Classmaster while she's on all fours. Then she hits with like senton splash. Classmaster's able to get out of that. And then we get towards the end of, and you can see the frustration on Blaze's face. And I appreciated that. That she gave the impression like, I thought I had it. Like I said, in a vacuum without any sort of context, angle, or storyline is fine. So she goes through her frustration. She's trying to hype herself up to get, a win. But her back is completely turned to the Classmaster. She's like, all right, guys, I'm ready to do this. And then she tries to seemingly get either a monkey flip in or maybe a cold breaker or a lung blower, whatever you want to call it. Classmaster catches her, shows her back off. Blaze goes into the turnbuckles. She comes back out, but she comes right back out into the boot. And boom, 1, 2, 3, we're done. And that was it. The match, fine. Enjoyed the match, actually. I just do not like the concept of the debuting talent not doing or saying anything to relate why they're there or why you should care about them or why you should root for them. The example that I would like to use in terms of, you should have some kind of emotional tie is the example that just took place on, SmackDown a couple of days ago. The Motor City Machine Guns. So just bear with me. I know this is WWE talk that I'm going into, but I'll get back to WoW. So the Motor City Machine Guns. Good team. Seen them for a long time. Tag team champions in Ring of Honor. Tag team champions in IWGP. Tag team champions in TNA. And now tag team champions in WWE. The only problem there is their second match. And they have had no way to get that audience to care. A few people out there did. Because WWE gets everybody. And there were fans that I'm sure recognized them, but the vast majority didn't. And they were positioned as just an auxiliary thing to the bloodline angle. They could have had any team in that match, and it was still gotten, basically the same thing. Any team would have done. And it certainly isn't a knock to the Guns. I'm happy that they won it. But they did not get the time to convince the audience there's a reason for you to care about us. In the way that Cody did. Cody came back and gave an impassioned speech about why he's doing this and what this means to him and why he's going after this particular championship. Those things make a difference. Blaze didn't get the chance to say anything to help push that narrative. Why are you here? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? She just had a match, and she just lost it, and then she disappeared afterwards, and then Samantha Smart cuts the same Samantha Smart promo. Insults the crowd about their intelligence, and then she moves on to Classmaster won the title shot, and David McClain, give me a title shot, or whatever. Something along those lines. It was lots of words, which basically dwindled down to it being somewhat of an open challenge. Just send me somebody for the Classmaster to fight. It was a long word salad to get to it, but that's basically what it came down to. She cut a promo over nothing other than we have an open challenge. Give me a challenger. So that was how that started and stopped. And I don't think it did their incoming talent any favors. Next match is promoed. That being the tag team match that was a hodgepodge versus the Dojo Defenders. So the next segment is the match itself. Fury and Sylvia Sanchez versus the Dojo Defenders. Now, if you listen to this podcast from its start, then you know exactly what I feel about this particular situation. And not the Dojo Defenders, but Sanchez and Fury. This is a running, reoccurring theme with WoW, particularly as it relates to Fury. And before I get into the match, I have something I want to say publicly to Fury and possibly Sanchez. These two young ladies have been in WoW, or this incarnation of WoW, for a while. Fury has been there longer, if I remember correctly. And she had a, I guess, reasonable run as part of the Heavy Metal Sisters. Version 1, I mean. Version 2, not so much. But this feels like a repeat cycle for her. She was part of the, again, version 1 Heavy Metal Sisters. They both departed. Then it was Fury's on her own, and she's going after the, trying to capture singles glory and this, that, and the other. And then next thing you know, she was back into a tag team. A new Heavy Metal Sisters was formed. And then, unceremoniously, that team has ceased. And then they started off the year with Fury as a singles again. And gave you the impression that this is something that she wanted, much the same way as they did with Sylvia Sanchez when she had her singles match. It was, she wants to try for singles domination. And not a month later, well, they want to go after the tag team titles. They figured the best way to do that is to form a team. I was like, what the? I'm not going to cuss. Anyway, so what? Why? For what? And why are these two tagged up? Wasn't Fury a babyface like a week ago? Or 2 weeks back, or whatever the case be? Last time we saw Sanchez, she was a heel. Why are these two paired off? And that brought up another issue. No one explains anything. The only explanation that you get is from David McLean or Nigel Zane. The wrestlers act like they cannot speak for themselves, or they're not allowed to speak for themselves. Couldn't there have been a segment, promo, interview, or something before they had this match to explain why, if we were going to have to do it, which they shouldn't be doing? Why does everybody have to be in a tag team? Why does everybody have to be in some kind of group? I just went through this. Why? Why does everybody have to be in that? You telling me there's not a single other team that they could have taken on? This is why I said top tier shouldn't even have been a trios thing. They should have just been a tag team and rotated between the two. You could have got a match there. The Brat Pack, you could have got a match there. Animal Instinct, you could have got a match there. I mean, why? And if you didn't have anybody else, or the whatever the evil comedy, Siren and Chainsaw, could have got a match there. Why'd you have to slam these two together to try to accommodate having a tag team for them? The second I saw this, it just made me feel like there are times when I think they just do not try. And getting back to the point of why I said I want to address Fury and possibly Sanchez, I really feel, and I'm not saying that you should turn your back on WoW. I'm not saying that, you should just leave them high and dry, whatever the case may be. And I don't know what your aspirations are, either one of you ladies. I haven't talked to Fury in some years now. But I have used the term that this woman is a rudderless boat. And that's exactly what I feel like here. Fury in WoW right now and Sylvia Sanchez, they are both rudderless boats with no direction in sight. They don't have a motor. They don't have a sail. They don't have anything to get them any direction. They just got to go whichever way the current takes them. They have to just do that. And will it change? Maybe. I don't know. They both seem talented enough to get some things done. Hell, if I had a wrestler promotion, I would hire Sylvia Sanchez. It wouldn't take me 2 seconds. I wouldn't give it a second thought. But here again, what direction are they going in? And I really feel like at this point, you got to start considering, are you giving up the best years of your career to this one place? Because the only saving grace that WoW has in this particular instance is that they crammed everything inside of 1 month in terms of taping. So that leaves you 11 more months to go out and find something else to do if you want to do it. Now, they may not, because WoW has an uncanny way of garnering loyalty out of some people. But if they are not in that camp of we are blindly loyal to WoW, you may want to look someplace that at least test the waters of some other televised product. Because I don't perceive them viewing Fury or Sylvia Sanchez as someone that is going to get a singles run, because I guess if they'd have done it by now. Maybe they'll change their mind. I don't know. And somebody that could possibly be in their main events or be, highly regarded. And I don't know how important that is to either one of them. But if it is important to you, I am starting to feel very strongly that you may need to just, get up out of there and find your fortunes elsewhere. Because it doesn't look like WoW has any plans for Sylvia Sanchez or Fury anytime soon. It just feels like we did this before, it worked, or at least it worked for this audience, so let's just do it again. Playing the role of Rebel Hayes will be Sylvia Sanchez. So, and again, the match means nothing. They talked about them teaming up so they can go after the tag team championships, but where's that going to go? You know, they may as well get a title match next week for all I know, because the tag team titles just get, you know, accepted by almost everybody. So, one thing that I remembered about this match is I dislike that the ring announcers have to constantly cue the crowd to say one fall. I'm like, you know, look, can we let that go? I understand, yeah, somebody came from an indie show and told the ring announcer or something, I guess. But please, we don't need to cue the audience for everything like that. So let's just get past the match here. That it was fine. Same narrative as the first two. Nothing here, but it's fine to watch. Sanchez and Kai started off. The heat is on Tara's strike. At some point, they get into the ring, and they're able to neutralize her, and she is pretty much the one that's taking the beating for the bulk of this. One thing you can say that she being Tara Strike very good at is the glassy-eyed look. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but she looks like, you know, she'd been kind of bopped around a little bit there. And I have to again say, I don't know what this is supposed to be. Are Sanchez and Fury supposed to be heels? Or is Sanchez and Fury now both baby faces? Can't tell. There are points when Fury could get a little aggressive in the ring, but that didn't necessarily mean that she was, you know, turning her backs on somebody or telling people to shut up and whatnot. She would do a couple of arrogance spots. But other than that, it's not like they did a bunch of things that would cause you to know one way or the other that they are heel or baby. So, moving on. What wound up happening here is you got the same kind of cold tag that I just talked about. I hope that this does not overlap the shows and tag team matches. Tara Strike gets herself free of the clutches of Sanchez, and she's crawling for a tag, and then she tags off to Karakai, and Sanchez tags off to Fury almost simultaneously, and then Fury just go ahead and take a beating from Kai. And nearly no offense given at that point. Once Kai gets a sleeper slam in on Fury, she goes for the cover. Sanchez comes in for the save, but once she gets off and she backs up for the referee, she apparently does not see, or at least catches at the last minute, a single leg drop kick coming from Tara Strike. Once that's done, Fury is then caught in, you know, what we used to call a Ferris wheel slam. So Kai pins her. I don't know if Fury got her head bonked seriously or something like that, but she had this like grimace on her face when she actually went down for the pin. Or maybe she just didn't like being in that position. I don't know. But yeah, she, for at least a couple of moments, the camera was right there. It looked like she just almost had this grimace of pain on her face. The Dojo Defenders won the match, and Strike, again, looked like she got her head knocked off, and she almost barely knew where she was or something. But this was a cold match with a nonsensical hodgepodge team thrown together. That's what that was. Now, I forgot to mention that throughout the match that we just talked about, Dave McClain is talking about the main event and, the number one contendership that's happening again for Pink and Jones. And he makes it very clear, this is it. This is going to be decisive. We're going to find out. Or maybe not. I was like, God damn, you can't go one way or the other. I mean, this sounds like complete foreshadowing. So, I expect this to go nowhere. Solely because Dave McClain being very non-committal. Like, he started off with full-on commitment and then gave himself an out before he was done. I was like, okay, I give up with that. I really do. The next segment was the backstage segment with Jessie Jones and Abilene Maverick. Maverick is basically begging to go to ringside with Jones. Jones doesn't want her. This is a all babyface decision. She's like, all right, we're ready to do our thing. That's Abilene. And Jones like, no, you stay back here. Or don't come out. I don't want you out there. So she's very adamant that she does not want the assistance of Abilene Maverick. This one thing here, this is the first domino, but this begins what theoretically should be a turn for Jessie Jones, because she's doing the babyface move here, regardless of the reasons why. I don't want your help. I can do this by myself. I can win on my own power. That's completely a babyface move. And the match pretty much took it away from being a heel versus heel match to a heel versus a sympathetic heel match. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. Once this goes out, because Abilene is insisting, and they kind of leave that up in the air. What happened to that last segment where Jones got up when Abilene turned around and looked like she was about to stick some gum in her hair? And I'm positive that's what it was leaning towards. They cut away too late. I don't know why the editors did not catch that. But, that's just me. Anyhow, and if you want to see what I'm talking about, go back. What episode was that? The last time they had a backstage segment. It's on their page. It's called Get to Steppin'. And that was about, as of this recording, that was about 3 weeks ago. And just look at it when it gets to the end of it. And you can see that Jessie Jones is clearly about to put gum in the back of Abilene's hair, but, whatever. The next segment following the backstage locker room scene is Penelope Pink calling out Jessie Jones, and she does her normal Pink promo. Those two, verbally and in the ring, I can depend on. And I didn't have any problem with it other than, it's unfortunately they're kind of in a repeat phase. I'm the number one contender. No, I'm the number one contender. So, And then McClain again, comments that this is the time the number one contender, that the ending will be solid. And my note was, can we believe him now? Can we believe him now? And I don't, and my honest opinion is no, you can't. Now that happens during the, of course, beginning of the main event. Pink and Jones. It was a good promo cut, just stepping back a second, it was a good promo cut by Penelope Pink. And, you have to appreciate that. But it doesn't, again, it doesn't feel like this is really moving anywhere or going anywhere or doing anything. So it's just a match. How many more times are we going to have a number one contenders match? This is the third one, by the way. Pink versus Ozzy, which why it came down to those two for a number one contendership, I don't know. But Pink versus Ozzy was the first one. Stemming off the heels of Jones being the number one contender and not getting the chance of not losing Then it was Pink versus Jones for the number one contendership. And now it's Pink versus Jones again for the number one contendership. How many more? And for what reason do I have to believe Dave McClain like, oh, well, this time it'll be solid? Well, it should have been solid like 2 matches ago. And that didn't happen. So this match starts. Jones comes out. She walks out with a purpose, and she is telling Maverick, hey, look, stay back. And, she's got a lot of body language on. It's like, no, I don't want you here. Stay back. Go away. And then when she gets to the bottom of the ramp, she is yelling at her, go, get to the back. And they're having an argument. And she just essentially kicks, I can't say her friend because we don't know what the relationship is, kicks Maverick out from ringside. Inside the ring, Penelope Pink's laughing about it. So we can look at this and we can say that, see, although technically a heel, has made a babyface decision, and this match was worked differently than just a heel versus heel match. It's not that Jessie Jones would not cheat, but in this particular scenario, she did not cheat unless she was cheated upon. That makes sense? So she's able to do kind of the anti-hero role here, whereas Penelope Pink is all heel. And again, it works fine. It works fine when you're looking at the evolution of them. Jones is able to start off the match pretty strong, but she didn't, pull out any tights or anything like that, or rake the eyes, or any of the heel tactics that she might have done previously. Nor did this match, for whatever reasons, incite the referee to check them both before the match started the way that they did last time. Jones started off on there, and the elbows in the corner, I like that she's able to use her hair to kind of disguise some of the hits. She just kind of whips it around. Jones tried to bulldog on Pink. Pink was able to shove her off, which then gives her enough pause to come at her with a knee lift. Jones got onto the second rope, and then we go to the old, everybody did this for a while for whatever reason, the old CD cover deal. But the Fab Four essentially does this too. Jones is on the second rope. Pink comes over there to pose on her, and here comes Lana Star, so she can stand in front and smile and point. But as she's turning around doing that, Jessie Jones swaps positions with Penelope Pink. And now it's Jones on top of Pink. And Lana Star doesn't know it. She's just, hey, guys, look at this. And then she looks at us like, oh, she's hurt. And she has to pull Pink out of the ring. That happened. Again, there lies one of those moments. It wasn't necessarily cheating, but she wasn't going to take any shortcuts or do her wrong until she was done wrong, or at least attempted to do wrong first, or the wrong being done to her. Surprisingly, well, I guess I shouldn't say surprising now because I've already praised her. Lana Star has grown in her managerial aspirations and been pretty entertaining to watch. Both of the heels out on the floor. And then Lana grabs the leg of Jessie Jones as a distraction. Jones grabs the hair of Lana. Then Pink comes up out of nowhere and smacks Jessie Jones in the head, which puts her down. And that then gives Penelope Pink the opportunity to take control, at least momentarily. That is until Jessie Jones is able to counter and get away. Pink was about to run off the apron and do like a kick to Jessie Jones's head. Jones sees it, catches the boot, and then whips Pink's leg to where she falls down face first to the floor. This match carried a far different dynamic than the first match. as stated, the first match was good, and I enjoyed the first match. And it was largely because they were two opposing heels on the same track, trying to get to the same goal. And, they tried to out-heel each other. Here, it is not a case of trying to out-heel each other rather than win. And Pink can cheat, Jones cannot. For whatever reasons, which is why I said I don't know whether Jones is going to go babyface in this particular scenario. But you would think that the way that this is being constructed, that Jones should be, and I say should be, the one to challenge the Beast and, maybe get the title off of her. I don't know. But time will tell. So our ladies here, they have a nice back and forth. Pink gets a nice, it wasn't a surfboard, but she's stretching Jones out in the middle until Jones kind of fires up and forces her way up to her feet so she can get a pin or try to counter off what Penelope Pink is doing. Pink's able to stop the first attempt, but not the second. Jones uses her leg power again, gets herself up, forces Pink backwards to get the pin. But Pink is able to just shoot her off with her legs and save herself from being pinned. The match, good stuff. Cannot deny that. Pink takes control of the match until Jessie is able to apply her ginger snaps. For those who don't know, it's like her version of the Three Amigos. When Jones hits all three and gets the roll through, she rolls right into the cover. But Samantha's my goddamn it. Sorry, Lana. I did not want to insult you by saying that. But Lana Starr gets up on the apron and she is distracting the referee. Jones sees this and gets up off of Pink. She goes to address Lana Starr. Lana has the mirror in her hand. She tries to bring it down on Jessie's head once Pink gets up and holds Jones for her. But this time the tables have turned. Jones is able to get out of the way. Pink doesn't get hit in the head with the mirror, but she stops it. And I was so glad that happened because I don't like the mirror as a gimmick, but it will work in this case because Pink stopped it from coming down to her in the first place. So she screams out, no, as if to be like, hey, you almost nailed me here. And while they're having that 5-second exchange, Jones rolls her up and she grabs the tights and she gets the pin. 1, 2, 3. Jessie Jones has now reclaimed being number one contender. And Penelope Pink is yelling about what happened, that type of thing. It was fine. I just don't know why. How many more of these are they going to do? That's my big issue. Is like, I know he's saying, this is it. This is going to be solid, but it's not going to surprise me if they turn around like, we got to have another number one contenders match. So Jessie Jones wins the match, and she goes skipping off while Penelope Pink looks upset and irate, and Lana Starr looks disgusted and disappointed. It is the highlight of the show, and that's not a knock to everybody else that's been on it, but it was the highlight of the show in that it at least had something. Now, it was an unnecessary something, and it's a repeated something, but at least that match had something behind it. I just don't care for the idea of doing this non-stop repeated number one contender thing because I am almost positive that it's going to come back around again. And that was it. I wrote, Jones seems to be becoming a babyface space, at least in this equation. And that's how I feel about it. Now, the real test is going to be when the Beast comes back or when Jones has to interact with another babyface on the roster. If she has to interact with another babyface on the roster or for that matter, interact with another heel, and I'm talking about just in conversation or bumping backstage or in the locker room, whatever the case may be, that's going to be the real test as to whether she's making some sort of change or not. But I went through this and I had to write down my little episode summary, and I had a couple of questions as I was. These are all things I probably said in the course of the show, but I'm going to summarize and repeat them. Throughout the show, why was hair extensions randomly on the floor in the kitchen? Why is Fury being thrown back into another tag team? The Classmaster Samantha Smart isn't a good pairing if WoW insists on bringing up the Classmaster 6'2" all the time. Smart is as tall as she is. McLean goes out of his way to make sure the audience knows that Tiki wasn't injured in WoW. Nigel Zane says top tier's claim on being the best is hard to argue. I say it's not hard at all. The heels seem to position themselves for Roxy's offense in that earlier spot that I talked about, where they gotta kind of obviously like, hey, where's she? And stand there for a second. It was just a little awkward. The Mother Truckers clips are ridiculous and not funny. I don't like that the ring announcers have to keep cueing the audience to say some stuff. Ashley Blaze has little to no introduction at all. This is the former Amari Miller from NXT/WWE. But I don't expect much of her in WoW. Commentators explain the storyline points and not the wrestlers themselves. One of which being volleyball and dance makes it, a good background for being a professional wrestler. That's Dave McClain talking about Ashley Blaze. I wrote, how does this work as a good background for being a professional wrestler? I mean, other than the fact that, hey, I dance so I can memorize choreography, which you might as well just tell people, oh, yeah, all of this nonsense is fake. If that is the logic behind that, because I can't see how that would apply. It's fascinating to me that he would say that. I also wrote it would be different if she were in like collegiate wrestling in school, or she had some sort of jiu-jitsu background, or something where you could make the parallels of her in a pro wrestling ring. But nope, there's volleyball and dance. I'm like, okay. And McLean carrying on about the winner gets the Beast, and there will be no doubt about it. I wrote, this makes me feel like this is foreshadowing problems. And I still feel that way. It feels like she's just, he is just foreshadowing issues. And there we have it. I also wanted to bring up one other thing before we go into next week's preview or the next episode preview. I was watching KCAL. For those who don't know, that's a CBS affiliate, digital tier in Los Angeles. Now, KCAL News, they had an interview. That interview took place with two members of WoW. Those two members of WoW that went in to represent the company, why? I'm pretty sure you could probably guess. They were not any baby faces. It was not the Beast who would be their champion, who could probably speak on, the joy of being the title holder and all that good stuff. It was not Princess Aussie, who could be a stand-up baby face for the show and say some nice things about it. It wasn't the Dojo Defenders or who's another baby, the All-American Girls, or anybody that would be listed under a good, reasonable team to put in front of somebody that's wanting to know about our product and not have to change their not look, but change what they would normally do so they can accommodate this news setting. It was Top Tier's Candy Crush, and it was Goldie Collins. Those were the two chosen to go represent WOW. Now I'm positive that WOW is happy with whomever they send. They probably really enjoyed both of these ladies, so they're like, hey, you know what? Just send them out there. They'll do great. They'll do fine, right? I have no doubt that some of that probably played into it, but they seemingly just go to KCAL all the time. I was like, God damn, how many? Are you not going to go someplace else? And I don't remember the young lady that interviewed them when they went, but yeah, it's over and over and over again. But it's always the heels. That was where I was getting to it. That it is always the heels. Why is it always the heels that go and do some sort of press where they're now turning around and telling people about how they stand up for this, that, and the other, and WOW superheroes, and you know we fight for what's right, and this. I was like that. It doesn't ring right to me. It doesn't. I was like, why? For what? And the Candy Crush seems like she's always in it. Like I said, it was Candy Crush and Goldie Collins in this instance. And I'll give Collins some kind of credit to say that she was in character when she went. But I still do not get the concept that WOW has, and that almost every time that they do something like this, it is largely the heels that they go to represent their company. This company that stands up for women's athletics and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. Let's get our heels out here to be the shining endorsement of what our company is about. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I don't know. But if you are looking for this interview, and I guess since it's their home stage, they do it quite frequently. But you can go to KCAL News, and it's titled "Women of Wrestling Talk About Sport and Attracting Fans." Attracting fans. I don't know if they have done anything to attract fans. I never see that. I never see them attracting anybody new beyond the fact that they like seeing these ladies on TV and that they're attractive. But other than that, I don't see anything. Now, I do want to give one big piece of credit to Goldie Collins. I do not know whether she believes this or not. I don't know if this is true for her or not. But at the end of the interview, she basically says something to the effect of, you know, to be a wrestler, you got to kind of sleep, eat, and breathe it. You know, it's difficult or what. I mean, she did well in presenting that way, but I don't care for the dual heels being there on these things, talking about positivity and then turning back around on TV and being a heel. It seems somewhat silly to me. And, you know, I probably need to see who this woman is that did the interview, but she's about as tall as either one of them. And she did the same thing that everybody that ever interviews any wrestler who doesn't know anything about wrestling ever does. Can I hold it? Yeah. Do you think I can get into the ring? You know, same stuff. Whoever it was looks fantastic. Maybe they need to hire her to come on and be a manager for a day. I can see that. but she probably wouldn't do well being a manager because she's towering over top of most other people, and she looks larger than either one of them when she stood up holding the vanity belt that Candy Crush has when she took on television. But other than the fact that she got the chance to get in there and be on TV in her local market and speak and walk and talk and act as Goldie Collins and Candy Crush, I didn't see any point in it. I'm sure it does help to some degree for them to be like, hey, look, we're just trying to get people to, get notoriety and watch our show and this, that, and the other. But you know what? It is a nationwide show, and you should probably try to book more interviews elsewhere other than KCAL. They got like 5 or 6 interviews on KCAL between like 2 years. If it wasn't the Beast, it was Candy Crush and Campanelli and Keita Rush and Goldie Collins. It's always KCAL. I mean, move on. I'm not saying abandon KCAL, but there are other places to go. You do air someplace else, so try that. So there we have it. That was the entirety of the episode. Now, 2 other things before we finish it up. One, shouldn't the Beast been stripped of her championship by now? I just looked it up and I just thought about it. It's like we haven't seen her since this season started. It is the end of October. This is the last Saturday that is going to air. It's got one Sunday to go. This is the last Saturday and Sunday that is going to air in October. Shouldn't they have gotten her or acknowledged her or something by now? It never seems to advance or do anything with the Beast. Is 1 year she's injured and she has to give it up because she can't defend it. I mean, she got clocked in the head, and I'm not saying that, hey, we got to, even in the kayfabe universe, I'm not saying that we got to make the injury light, but could she not get her phone and shoot a promo from her house and send it in? Things like that do work, and they help. Could you not do that? Instead of, going back to what I said earlier, having David McClain explain it for you. Every situation he has to explain. It doesn't allow any talent to get themselves over. No one walks into this company and gets over. No one is over. Everyone there is just an interchangeable part. And the Beast might, and I strongly stress might, she might be an exception to that. Maybe. But no one gets over here. They just go there, show up, do their thing, and Dave McClain speaks on and talks about it and addresses every storyline. They never get a chance to say their own thing for themselves. Why is that so hard to do? It's not like it requires that much. A camera and a microphone and the person that needs to say some stuff. They can be in the back and they can say it. They can be at home and they can say it. But it's constant. It's the same thing. David McClain has to explain it for him. Who's trying to get over here? David McClain or the talent? He doesn't need to. Let's just look at the Fury Sylvia Sanchez thing. He had to explain that, not either one of them. He had to tell you, well, they wanted to go after the tag titles. Are they both mute? Could they not say that on their own time? Yeah, you get a few people that cut some promos, but I mean, it would help if other people got to do it too, other than Jones and Pink and, his top level people. And getting back to the Beast, she hasn't been seen since August 17th. Her last match was August 3rd. We're in October. She is pushing on 3 months because she's not going to show up, this month and not have a match anyway. So, I think it's safe to assume that we're going to go into November before she's seen or heard from. And he has to still be the voice for her. I just talked to the Beast last week. She's doing okay, but she's got... Why can't she do that? Why can't she tell people, hey, I'm hurt, but I'm coming back? Why? These are the things that makes this show hard for me to watch. Or it's becoming hard for me to watch. Because it's match after match after match after match with no one doing anything. Like, okay, Roxy. Unless they're going out there to talk on commentary, they don't get the chance to say anything. We haven't heard anything from Roxy other than when she did that. And who had to be there while she was doing it? Dave McClain. That conversation was between them two. It is just non-stop with this. What is it going to take for somebody to snap out of it and be like, you know what, can we at least do our own promos every once in a while? Or can I explain this myself? It is just a non-stop vanity fest. I talked about the vanity belts, but I am really convinced now that this is just David McClain's personal playground, and these ladies are just the means by which he is able to do it. And there's only one person on the planet that's going to be able to stop him from doing any of these things, or Selena Majors from doing any of these things, and that's Jeannie Buss. And I'm betting on the fact that she probably never even watches her own show. It's sad. So anyhow, I'm going to look at the next match that they got coming up. And that match, or not match, I'm sorry, episode. Let's read the preview for the next episode, so we'll have an idea what kind of nonsense we're walking into next week, or whenever you're hearing this. So this is what was sent. Season 3, Episode 7, title, Who Attacked the Beast? Jessie Jones is finally ready to talk and shares compelling evidence with matchmaker David McClain about the attack on the Beast in an effort to claim the $10,000 reward money. Meanwhile, Samantha Smart has a revelation of her own, along with a demand for her client, the Classmaster. In the ring, Animal Instinct's Goldie Collins and Katarina Jinx look to reverse their recent luck against the team of Tormenta and Princess Aussie, while the Brat Packs, BK Rhythm and Gigi Gianni, aim to make Tiki, Charmorro, and Pep Riley into an after-school special. Chainsaw takes on Brittany Bay in singles action, and the Mighty Mites, Sugar and Spice, challenge Miami's Sweet Heat, Lindsay and Lori Carlson for the Wild Tag Team Championships. I'm pretty sure we know where all of this is going. Brat Pack will probably win because it's Tiki, Charmorro, and Pep Riley. Another just thrown together team. Chainsaw definitely going to beat Brittany Bay. Lindsay and Laurie are going to beat Sugar and Spice. Probably a good match to watch, but they're going to win. And what was the other one? Animal Instinct and Tormenta and Aussie. That one might be a toss-up. I'm going to say Aussie and Tormenta take it. At least they should. But considering if they won last time and Wild's train of thought, they're probably, they got to win it again. Or they probably have to make a comeback. This is nothing I'm looking forward to, quite honestly. I hate to say that, but I'm not. I just am not. Other than the Mighty Mites and the main event, Miami Sweet Heat and the Mites. That's pretty much it. And I think that's it, folks. I've stressed myself out enough talking about this show because this episode was just, like I said, it was a episode that just kind of circled the city, waiting for his instructions to land. Nothing advanced. It's just here because I do not believe that number one contenders match thing is over with. I think they're going to turn around and do something else next week. Or who knows when. So, as we close, be sure to do all the things that you do to keep this place going. Like, share, subscribe, comment. I appreciate it all. If you're listening to this in MP3 format, thank you. You can leave a review wherever you happen to be. If you do not know where to go with that, you can always go on to the WPN site. WPNWrestling.com. It is the centerpiece for everything that we do. It is the focal point, the nexus for all videos dating back to 2013 to present day. You can see faces that have existed on several platforms, from the indies to the WWE to AEW to TNA to WOW and beyond. All of that and more. And of course, if you're checking this out on YouTube, like I said, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I am going to try to get back to the polls. Let's see if we can try to get this a weekly poll on whether you liked or disliked the episode, so I can see whether I'm in the majority or minority about what I felt about the show. In fact, we will start that now. So if you're listening to this, go over to the comment, the comment section, not the comment section, the communities tab, and make your vote about whether this was good or bad. And on that note, folks, this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go around. Get better, WOW, and take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.